During an intimate New York City performance, Niall Horan performs a cover of Zach Bryan's song, reveals his favorite Taylor Swift song, Eras, and more. Niall Horan performed a few songs off his third album, The Show, which will be released on June 9th, in front of close to 50 fans. Horan performed for 48 of his most devoted fans in the legendary studio at the Power Station in New York City as part of a Spotify collaboration. On hand for the special performance, one Horan later admitted may be his last small show before he embarks on a nearly sold-out world tour, including his June 14th date at Madison Square Garden, where two New York City natives, who link their decade-plus friendship to Horan. Growing up in Floral Park, Queens, Caroline O'Brien and Claudia Futchs first met in elementary school but didn't become friends until they reconnected over their love of One Direction in 11th grade. We would see Horan whenever he passed through, according to O'Brien, according to American Songwriter. It seems so arrogant, but you're thinking, this is an earned privilege. You feel like you should be one of 50 people in the room when you're 23 since you've been standing in line since you were 12 years old. When One Direction broke up in 2016, O'Brien and Futchs continued to follow each member's solo endeavors, but they discovered they related to Horan's music better. During their first year of college in 2017, they attended their first Horan concert on Halloween night at the Beacon Theater in New York City. Before Horan released his second album, Heartbreak, in 2018, there was another performance at Jones Beach. He's still the root of everything I'm interested in, said O'Brien, who, along with Futchs, also took a pilgrimage to Horan's hometown of Mullingar, Ireland. We learned more from hearing him speak at the age of 16 than we learned in school. That sounds ridiculous, but the things you put into practice, and the things you think about later on from things he said in passing. He really raised the bar for us, the friends, along with the small audience, who O'Brien says she knows from a community of Horan fan interactions on Twitter, said that seeing him perform is one thing, but to hear him speak, and within such close proximity, is a moment she will never forget. He can be this close singing, said O'Brien, but to hear him actually ideate and think out loud is another thing. Before his 10-song set, which included the show tracks Heaven, Science, and You Should Start a Cult, along with Flicker and a cover of Zach Bryan's 2022 song Something in the Orange, Horan answered nearly a dozen fan questions. He also shared personal anecdotes about the new album, songwriting, his favorite eras of Taylor Swift, and more. American Songwriter was in the room and captured Horan's cue in a session here. Q. Which song from your catalog would you use to introduce your work? Niall Horan, I don't know. This Town or The Show, maybe. Flicker. I can go through the whole catalog, probably one of those three, I'd imagine, if you're trying to sell me to someone. What about the songwriting process has changed between your prior albums and this one? Do you think your skill as a lyricist has improved? If you do it consistently, it helps you grow. The more you listen to and absorb other information, the more it just affects how you do it. You can see why this verse was written that way, but I've never been able to figure out the arithmetic behind it. I've simply improved over time with practice, especially on this album because I had more time. For instance, I would have a really good concept in my head, and if the song started off really bad I would just scrap it and not allow myself to get to the end of the song. I just wasted all that time, hence the fact that I really didn't write that many songs for this record. When you have time to consider it, you can pull all that math into place. Now, I feel like I've written my best stuff, and hopefully we'll have this same conversation in a few years when the next one comes.